Shakespeare wakes up at 4:45 and admires his surroundings. Tax records reveal that New Place had 10 fireplaces, which means it may have had as many as 30 rooms. Stratford, not London, was Shakespeare's base from 1597 onwards.
At 5 o'clock Shakespeare had to work. Today you ask why so early. This is because they had to use the sunlight. They didn't have had lamps. Shakespeare worked in the morning for a new piece, but sometimes it wasn't just his idea. Sometimes he copied ideas or whole paragraphs from other books.
Breakfast time. Shakespeare takes a break from writing to enjoy a morning beer or two with his family. That's not to say that Shakespeare's wife Anne or daughters, Susanna and Judith, were heavy drinkers. It was commonplace in the 17th century England to drink beer instead of water. Without flushing toilets and proper sewer systems, water supplies could be contaminated by diseases like typhoid.
After Shakespeare has had his breakfast, he goes for a walk up to the churchyard of Holy Trinity in Stratford. As he comes this way, he comes across the grave of his son, Hamlet Shakespeare. His son's death happened in 1596. He was only 10 years old.
Shakespeare works really hard all morning doing a lot of writing. It takes a long time as he has to keep dipping his quill into the ink, but he managed to write many pages.
While Shakespeare was hard at work on his latest play, other members of the household were busy preparing his lunch. Shakespeare lived at a time where many foodstuffs would have been prepared at home.
He had significant responsibilities as a landlord, in his interest to look over the field to check that the crops were well maintained. Shakespeare bought this land in 1602 for £320. He then gave it to his daughter Susanna.
Shakespeare returns to town and heads straight to the pub to discuss business with his neighbour John Covey. Once business matters had been discussed, the men would be able to enjoy the entertainment on offer, music and tabletop games with dice and cards as well.
He returns to his home to have dinner with his wife and daughter, who have just returned from evening prayer. Shakespeare was very successful, so he could afford nice food. He would have eaten meat and would supplement this with vegetables from his garden.
After dinner, the family meet to play a card game together.
When the rest of the household retires to bed, William picks up his quill once again, but instead of a play, he begins a poem. Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets, or love poems, during his lifetime, but many of his sonnets were only intended to be distributed among a small circle of literary friends. A complete collection was published during his lifetime, but it was done without his approval.